Good morning. Did everybody have a nice Thanksgiving? I didn't play Diva thoroughly enough and I'm fighting off a cold. I did take yesterday off to try to stay warm, get good nutrition and all that so that I could record today. Fighting it a little bit though. Yeah, like when I say I didn't play Diva well enough, I didn't do enough of the hydrating and saline washes and all of those things to prevent illness. A little froggy already, see? Lots of tea today. But I have this morning done my saline wash, had a nice warm steamy shower. I've warmed up. Hopefully this is good. How have y'all been? All right. I haven't recorded any of Old Mr. Crow since the last time I did a live, with the exception of re-recording chapter 7. I was so excited about doing my first live, shutting it down. I forgot to actually save the file. I saved the mix down that I made, but it had some processes done on it that made it impossible to do corrections later and make them match up well. So I re-recorded chapter 7, and now here we are ready for chapter 8. If you weren't here before, this will be warts and all outtakes. I will make mistakes. I will go back, fix them. You'll get to see how punch and roll works. And I've got the chat kind of visible here if any of you find me live, but I probably won't check on it and read it until between chapters. The chapters here are short though. Right. Bring my DAW back up. That's digital audio workstation. I have everything gone except for the name of my chapter here. The Tale of Old Mr. Crow. Chapter 8. Hey, the mic's working. I probably should have checked that before going on live with y'all. Okay. And this is, hold on just a second, please. All right. Lemony Snicket, Violet. She gets serious. She ties her hair back. That's what I think of. The new umbrella. Old Mr. Crow was feeling very happy because he had a new umbrella, the only umbrella that was owned for miles around. And wherever Mr. Crow went, the umbrella went too, tucked snugly under his wing. I'm going to go back. I had a little nasal resonance. You may not have caught it. Someone wearing earbuds listening to the final audiobook might have heard that little unto. Sorry, that was a gross sound. Again, don't clear your throat. It's bad for your vocal cords. Umbrella, the only umbrella that was owned for miles around. And wherever Mr. Crow went, the umbrella went too, tucked snugly under his wing. There was only one thing that could have made Mr. Crow feel any happier, and that was rain. As soon as it rained, he intended to spread the umbrella over his head and go to call upon all of his friends. But not a drop of rain had fallen for weeks. And so far as old Mr. Crow could judge, there wasn't a single sign of a storm anywhere. Nevertheless, he continued to carry his umbrella every time he stirred away from his house. And although the weather was so dry, he found a bit too gaspy. I usually have to clear crud, thus the tea always at hand. Today's going to be a lot. And although the weather was so dry, he found... Oh, no. set my marker in the wrong spot. There we go.
He continued to carry his umbrella every time he stirred away from his house.
And although
He continued to carry his umbrella every time he stirred away from his house.
And although the weather was so dry, he found a good deal of pleasure in showing his umbrella to his neighbors. Now, old Mr. Crow had a cousin of whom you have heard. His name was Jasper Jay, and he was a great dandy. He always took pride in his handsome blue suit, of which he was very vain. Being an inquisitive fellow, Jasper Jay was much interested in Mr. Crow's umbrella. Whenever he met Mr. Crow, he asked the old gentleman to spread the umbrella, and once Mr. Crow had let Jasper hold it for as long as 10 seconds, just to see how it felt. After that, Jasper Jay could not get the umbrella out of his mind. He began calling at Mr. Crow's house every day, and all the time he was there, he never took his eyes off the umbrella. At last, the two cousins met in the woods one day. I don't know, somehow it almost lost my place. Okay.
Time he was there, he never took his eyes off the umbrella.
At last, the two cousins met in the woods one day. As usual, Mr. Crow had his umbrella tucked under his wing. But when Jasper asked him to spread it, Mr. Crow refused. "I can't keep putting my umbrella up and down," he said. "What if I did?" "Nope."
Can't keep putting my umbrella up and down, he said.
"If I did, the first thing I knew it would be worn out. And then what would happen to me if it should rain?" "You get wet." Jasper Jay. My notes from him from the prior book. Higher, not quite creaky, punchy. And by punchy, I meant like a little emphasis in words. "You get wet." Yeah, I think that's it. And he's not as slow as old Mr. Crow.
Out. And then what would happen to me if it should rain?
"You get wet," said Jasper Jay. "Exactly," Mr. Crow replied. "And at my age, I might take cold and be very ill, perhaps." "Where are you going?" Jasper inquired pleasantly. He was disappointed, but he did not let his cousin see that. "I'm on my way to a big meeting of the Crow family," the old gentleman replied. "And you're taking your umbrella?" Oh, see, my note highlighted but not noticed. Jasper asked as if he were greatly astonished, and I did not sound greatly astonished.
Big meeting of the Crow family, the old gentleman replied.
"And you're taking your umbrella?" Jasper asked, as if he were greatly astonished. "Why, yes," Mr. Crow answered. "You seem surprised." "I am," said Jasper Jay with a shake of his head. "I'd hate to risk it if I were you." That reached into creaky range.
"I am," said Jasper Jay with a shake of his head.
"I'd hate to... sorry. I'm just going to go back. I don't need to apologize. I'm making it better."
Mr. Crow answered. "You seem surprised."
"I am," said Jasper Jay with a sad shake of his
Mr. Crow
head.
answered. "You seem surprised."
"I am," said Jasper Jay with a sad shake of his head. "I'd hate to risk it if I were you. There'll be some rough young fellows there, and you're likely to lose your umbrella. I'm afraid they'll take it away from you." Old Mr. Crow looked worried. "I don't know what to do," he said anxiously. "It's an important meeting. They're expecting me, and I'm late." "I'll go back. It's an important meeting, not just any meeting."
"I don't know what to do," he said anxiously.
"It's an important meeting. They're expecting me, and I'm late as it is. If I go back home and leave my umbrella, I'm afraid they'll think I'm not coming." "I suppose I could help you just this once," Jasper Jay remarked. Of course, it's not a thing I do for everybody, but since you're my cousin, if you want me to do it, I'll take care of your umbrella until you come back again." "Will you wait right here?" Mr. Crow asked him. "Yes." "Will you promise not to spread the umbrella?" At that question, and here comes the frogs. Let me fix it. Mr. Crow's creaky voice does help loosen up some of the stuff, so I think after doing this morning, the rest of my day should go a lot more smoothly. That extra vibration is helping loosen things up.
"Will you promise not to spread the umbrella?"
At that question, Jasper Jay's face fell. But pretty soon he said cheerfully, "I promise not to put it up unless it should rain." Mr. Crow looked carefully at the sky. There was not a cloud to be seen. So he turned to Jasper Jay with a smile and placed the umbrella carefully in his hands. Then Mr. Crow flew away. See, was a little hard.
Turned to Jasper Jay with a smile and placed the umbrella carefully in his hands.
Then Mr. Crow flew away. It certainly can't rain. Mr. Crow arrived at the meeting quite out of breath, and his friends noticed that he seemed uneasy about something. He kept looking up at the sky and asking everybody what he thought about the weather. End of chapter. So now I export my WAV file. So I have that ready to send to proofing after the book is recorded. And once the file is mixed, I put it in the folder with its friends. All right. This is the part I forgot last time. File, close. Yes, I want to save. I just forgot the program was running in the background before and closed it out without saving. All right, this is my self-post template. The Tale of Old Mr. Crow is the folder I want the whole project in. This is chapter 9. All right. Nine. Caught in the rain. Left alone in the woods with Mr. Crow's umbrella, Jasper Jay had a fine time. First, he looked at the umbrella very closely, from the handle to the slender tip. Then he placed it under his wing and strutted back and forth upon the ground, just as he had seen Mr. Crow parade before his friends. And Jasper wished that someone would come along and see him. Hear those sharp S's? Time for a lozenge. I can tell you in great detail about these or not. Let's put a little coating on my tongue. Stop those S's from being so sharp.
Back and forth upon the ground, just as he had seen Mr. Crow parade before his friends.
And Jasper wished that someone would come along and see him. But nobody came. So after a while, he grew tired of wishing. And the next thing he did was to unfasten the strap that kept the folds of the umbrella wrapped about its stick. "I'm not putting it up," he told himself. "I didn't promise I wouldn't do this. I only agreed not to spread the umbrella unless it rained." Just then, a low rumble caught his ear. "That's thunder," he cried. "I do hope it will rain." And
caught his ear. "That's thunder!" he cried.
"I do hope it will rain." In a short time the sky grew dark, and pretty soon great drops came pattering down upon the leaves over Jasper's head. "Hurrah!" he shouted, and he flew straight up to the very top of a tall tree, where he perched himself on a limb and spread Mr. Crow's umbrella. Though it was soon raining hard, the rain did not fall any too heavily to please Jasper Jay. He enjoyed the pleasant-sounding patter over his head, and he liked to watch the trickle of the water as it ran off the umbrella and fell upon the leaves beneath him. Now, while Jasper Jay was having a good time, there was one person who was not enjoying the shower at all, and that was old Mr. Crow. You remember that he had gone to a crow's meeting, and as soon as it began to sprinkle, go back again, the repetition, because this would have been read on a different night to the kiddo before bed. A little reminder of what's going on.
At all. And that was old Mr. Crow.
You remember that he had gone to a crow's meeting, and as soon as it began to sprinkle, the meeting broke up. Old Mr. Crow was the first one to leave, and he was in a great hurry. He wished he had not left his umbrella with Jasper Jay, for he did not want anybody but himself to use it, especially for the first time. As you know, ever since Mr. Crow had owned his umbrella, it had not rained once. I'm going to connect that a little bit more. That was too much of a pause.
Anybody but himself to use it, especially for the first time.
As you know, ever since Mr. Crow had owned his umbrella, it had not rained once. That was why the old gentleman flew away without even stopping to bid his friends goodbye. He flew as fast as he could through the pelting rain, and he had just come in sight of the woods where Jasper had promised to wait. Again, apologies if that's a gross sound.
Was why the old gentleman flew away without even stopping to bid his friends goodbye.
He flew as fast as he could through the pelting rain, and he had just come in sight of the woods where Jasper had promised to wait for him, when the rain suddenly stopped. As Mr. Crow dropped downward, he saw something in a treetop that made him very angry. It was his umbrella, wide open, and beneath it, though Mr. Crow could not see him, was Jasper Jay. He was trembling with rage, was Mr. Crow, as he alighted on a limb near his cousin. "Here, you," the old gentleman cried. "Put down my umbrella. It's not raining. How dare you sit there with my umbrella spread over your head?" Jasper Jay closed the umbrella quickly and handed it to Mr. Crow. A little hiccup there.
"Dare you sit there with my umbrella spread over your head?"
Jasper Jay closed the umbrella quickly and handed it to Mr. Crow with a smile. "That's a good umbrella," he remarked. "As you see, I'm not even damp, but you seem to have been caught out in a heavy shower." Mr. Crow was dripping. His tail feathers looked quite bedraggled, and he was shaking the drops off his wings. "It will never happen again," Mr. Crow said hoarsely. "Never again will I go anywhere, rain or shine, without my umbrella. At my age, it's very dangerous to get so wet." I'd, not I'll.
At my age, it's very dangerous to get so wet.
"I'd advise you to run through the woods and then run back again until you get warm," Jasper Jay suggested. "And since you're my cousin, if you want me to do it, I'll help you. And hold your umbrella until you can..." No. If you want me to do it. "Since you're my cousin, if you want me to do it, I'll help you. And hold your umbrella until you return." My punchy words.
Run through the woods and then run back again until you get warm. Jasper Jay suggested.
And since you're my cousin, if you want me to do it, I'll help you and hold your umbrella until you return. But Mr. Crow shook his head. I've had enough of your advice, he said sourly. It might rain again, and then I'd be worse off than ever. Jasper Jay pretended to be surprised, and he too began to tremble and shake. But it was only because he was laughing silently at his cousin.
Surprised, and he too began to tremble and shake.
But it was only because he was laughing silently at his cousin. Okay, end of another chapter. Get a little air in here. Okay. Move it to the folder. And while I'm thinking of it, I'm just going to double check that folder. Bum, 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 bum. Good. I'm just going to rename chapter 7. There's just a slight, didn't leave a space in the title of that file as I did the others. It's just easier to come back later and find some consistency. Sorry, this may be a recording day after. Found a little zhuzh in chapter 8 from earlier today too. Okay. Everything looks consistent and nice now. Close out in the DOS, save it. New song for the new chapter. That's how I do it. Chapter 10, 010. The Tale of Old Mr. Crow. Chapter 10. I don't remember what happens on this one. Okay. Oh, now I do. Okay. Helps if I push the right button. A queer toadstool. A little more emphasis there. A little more weight. 10. A queer toadstool. Wow.
10. A queer toadstool.
Mr. Crow did exactly as he said he would. After the time he was caught out in the shower and got wet. Mr.
Crow did exactly as he said he would.
After the time he was caught out in the shower and got wet, he never went even the shortest distance away from home without his umbrella. And he wouldn't even let anybody take his umbrella in order to look at it. Oh, see, okay. I did a little adjustment on the punctuation here and forgot to read it that way.
Wet. He never went even the shortest distance away from home without his umbrella.
And he wouldn't even let anybody take his umbrella in order to look at it. It might rain suddenly, Mr. Crow explained. I might be soaked before I knew it, and you know that's very dangerous for one of my age. It was not many days before there was another thunder shower. Gotta read the words on the page.
You know that's very dangerous for one of my age.
It was not many days before there was another thunder shower, and this time Mr. Crow was ready for it. As soon as he felt the drops, he spread his umbrella and raised it above his head. At last he was very, very happy. For the first time in his life, he was going to see what it was like to stay out in the rain without getting wet. Now, it hadn't rained long before Jasper Jay came hurrying up to Mr. Crow, where he sat on Farmer Green's fence, and crawled under the umbrella close beside the old gentleman. "You don't mind, I hope?" said Jasper Jay. "Well, no," said Mr. Crow. "It's a big umbrella, fortunately. But I hope no one else comes along." The words were hardly out of his bill when Mr. Crow noticed a slim gray fellow with a bushy tail bounding toward them on the top of a fence. Added an article because I'm distracted because I'm going to sneeze. Pardon me. Now we see how much that changes the sound. Do I sound more nasally to you? Okay. Oh boy. The thing is, even before you sneeze, even if you abrupt it with that trick or whatever works for you, the tingling you feel pre-sneeze, that's your sinuses swelling up and getting ready to make mucus to protect it from whatever it's seeing as a threat. So the swelling is there even if you don't sneeze. That's the nasality. More so than I had already today.
But I hope no one else comes along.
The words were hardly out of his bill when Mr. Crow noticed a slim gray fellow with a bushy tail bounding toward them on top of the fence. It was Frisky Squirrel, and he cut close to Mr. Crow under the umbrella, saying, "You don't mind, I hope." And what do we know about Frisky Squirrel? Not a lot, I don't think. All right. Old Mr. Crow. What color is he in here? Green. Jasper Jay, Frisky Squirrel, just that he's a slim gray fellow. We don't have anything new about him. I think he's going to have a little voice. Write this in pencil. Kind of childlike. I don't know, he might get up to mischief later and that may not fit in another book. This is his only bit in this book, so we're okay for now.
Frisky Squirrel, and he cut close to Mr. Crow under the umbrella, saying,
And crept doesn't sound like crept.
And he cut close to...
Yeah, I didn't say crept, I said cut.
Toward them on top of the fence. It was Frisky Squirrel.
And he crept close to Mr. Crow under the umbrella, saying, "You don't mind, I hope?" "No," replied Mr. Crow. With Frisky on one side of him and Jasper Jay on the other, now, coming up soon, very soon, is Fatty Coon. I don't think if it was in the prior book, there was a coon. Tommy Fox. Uncle Sammy Coon. Ah. Fatty Coon's first. Okay. Different coon. All right, whatever I want to do. Fatty Coon. Okay. We learn later that he is big. Mr. Crow is afraid of him, and he's usually hungry. Dump, 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 dump. No, I have, I have a voice in mind for Fatty Coon. Yeah. Sometimes I make these decisions before I start recording. Sometimes I let them unfold. They're more fun for you if they're unfolding, right?
Under the umbrella, saying, "You don't mind, I hope."
No, replied Mr. Crow. With Frisky on one side of him and Jasper Jay on the other, Mr. Crow.
With Frisky on one side of him and Jasper Jay on the other,
Mr. Crow thought that maybe he could keep drier because they were there, but he hoped no one else would pass that way. Well, someone did. Before Mr. Crow knew what had happened, a voice said right over his shoulder, "You don't mind, I hope?"
Before Mr. Crow knew what had happened, a voice said right over his shoulder,
"You don't mind, I hope?" It was Fatty Coon. And Mr. Crow certainly did mind, though he was...
"Mind, I hope." It was Fatty Coon.
And Mr. Crow certainly did mind, though he didn't dare say so. In the first place, Mr. Crow was afraid of Fatty Coon, and in the second place, Fatty was so big that he crowded Mr. Crow almost off the fence. So I'm at the stage now when I inhale after a sentence, I get a little thunk in the back of my sinuses, courtesy of that sneeze. So I'll try to catch the ones that I can. I may have to repair some of them in post. If someone else is doing post, I do my utmost to not leave any in, because that's not something someone else will go and carve out that little thunk sound, as I will on this. Anyway, that's...
Fence.
That came later, okay.
Fatty was so big that he crowded Mr. Crow almost off the fence.
Old Mr. Crow found it very hard to hold the umbrella straight and cling to the fence rail at the same time. And something seemed to have made the umbrella very heavy. In spite of all he could do, it would tilt. And Mr. Crow crouched under the edge of it, right where the rain poured off. The water dripped inside his collar and ran down his back until he was soaked through and through. Pretty soon, Mr. Crow began to sneeze. At first, he sneezed. I feel for you, Mr. Crow.
And ran down his back until he was soaked through and through. Collar and ran down his back until he was soaked through and through.
Pretty soon, Mr. Crow began to sneeze. At first, he sneezed quite softly, but every time it happened, he sneezed harder than the time before. And at last, he sneezed so violently that he lost his hold on the fence and went tumbling down to the ground with the umbrella, Jasper Jay, Fatty Coon, and... Oh, let's give that a little separation.
But every time it happened, he sneezed harder than the time before.
And at last he sneezed so violently that he lost his hold on the fence and went tumbling down to the ground with the umbrella, Jasper Jay, Fatty Coon, and Frisky Squirrel on top of him. As they fell, a huge, long-legged fellow named Christopher Crane alighted on the fence, on the very spot where they had been sitting, and laughed loudly at them. "What's the joke?" Mr. Crow asked in an angry voice.
On the very spot where they had been sitting, and laughed loudly at them.
"What's the joke?" Mr. Crow asked in an angry voice as he picked himself up. I don't see anything to laugh at. Joke, said Christopher Crane. I totally glossed over Christopher Crane. You deserve a voice and record too, buddy. I don't know if you ever show up again. Christopher Crane. Okay. I decided that Christopher Crane's going to be higher, smooth. I've written Almost Human. He's going to be kind of close to my own voice, I think, but a higher, smoother version of my own voice. Joke.
I don't see anything to laugh at.
Joke, said Christopher Crane. The joke's on me. I thought that thing you have in your hand was a new kind of toadstool growing on the fence. And here I've been sitting on it all this time and never knew you chaps were under it. Okay, going back, because he's laughing at all this. He's laughing through all of this.
A fat joke, said Christopher Crane.
The joke's on me. There was a burpish sound.
Joke, said Christopher Crane.
The joke's on me. I thought that thing you have in your hand was a new kind of toadstool growing on the fence. And here I've been sitting on it all this time and never knew you chaps were under it. At that, weird mouth noise.
Been sitting on it all this time and never knew you chaps were under it.
At that, everybody except Mr. Crow began to laugh too. But Mr. Crow coughed, and his voice was hoarser than... And there's a comma there that doesn't belong.
Mr. Crow began to laugh too, but Mr. Crow coughed.
And his voice was hoarser than ever as he said to Christopher Crane.
Mr. Crow began to laugh too, but Mr. Crow coughed.
And his voice was hoarser than ever as he said to Mr. Wow.
Mr. Crow began to laugh too, but Mr. Crow coughed.
And his voice was hoarser than ever as he said to Christopher Crane, I'm as wet as I can be, and I've caught a terrible cold. You're a water bird, and you don't mind a wetting, but for one of my age, it's very dangerous. Then he started homeward. Though it was still raining, he tucked his umbrella under his wing, for he was afraid those rude fellows would crowd under it again. I kind of, don't like the over-emphasis.
Then he started homeward.
Though it was still raining, he tucked his umbrella under his wing, for he was afraid those rude fellows would crowd under it again. And before he had reached his house, Mr. Crow had made up his mind about something. End of chapter 10. Export. Mix down. How are we doing on time? 10:40. Okay. It's in the proper folder. Close and save. My self-post template. The Tale of old Mr. Crow folder. Chapter 11, A Tale of Old Mr. Crow. Here we are. Hmm. "11. Mr. Crow's Plan. Yes! Old Mr. Crow had made up his mind about something. After Jasper Jay and Frisky... I don't think this is... I think that was the wrong kind of yet. And listen to that clicky mouth. Water first. A different lozenge. Pardon me. Better.
11. Mr. Crow's Plan.
Weird noise.
11. Mr. Crow's Plan.
Yes, old Mr. Crow had made up his mind about something. After Jasper Jay and Frisky Squirrel and Fatty Coon... Squirrel and Coon?
Yes, old Mr. Crow had made up his mind about something.
After Jasper Jay and Frisky Squirrel and Fatty Coon had come and crouched under his umbrella, and Christopher Crane had perched himself on top of it, and Mr. Crow had fallen off the fence, the old gentleman decided that he would take no more chances. The next time it rained, he knew exactly what he was going to do. He said nothing to anyone about his plan. It was a good one. Mr. Crow was sure of that. And he could hardly wait for the next shower. He was so eager to give his scheme a trial. He hoped that there would be a big storm, not merely a quick shower, which would be over before he had time to enjoy it. At last, the storm came. And for once, Mr. Crow was not disappointed. It was the sort of storm that was worth waiting for. The wind had blown hard all day, and the sky had grown almost as black as night. And old Mr. Crow was watching in his house with his umbrella grasped tight in his hands, waiting for the rain. When the rain began, it did not fall in a gentle patter. It came with a rush and a roar, driven in white sheets before a mighty wind. "This is great!" Mr. Crow cried aloud as he stepped upon a limb outside his house and spread his umbrella. Now this is what he had decided to do. He had determined that the very next time it rained, he would take his umbrella.
Now this is what he had decided to do.
He had determined that the very next time it rained, he would take his umbrella and fly up into the sky where he would not be annoyed by anybody coming along to share his shelter with him. That was not enough oxygen. I failed. Let's go back.
Now this is what he had decided to do.
He had determined that the very next time it rained, he would take his umbrella and fly up into the sky, where he would not be annoyed by anybody coming along to share his shelter with him. For a moment, Mr. Crow balanced himself on the limb, and the next moment he had jumped. Afterward, he could never remember exactly how it all happened. Everything.
Himself on the limb. And the next moment, he had jumped.
Afterward, he could never remember exactly how it all happened. Everything seemed like a bad dream to old Mr. Crow, such as he sometimes had after eating too heartily of corn. Too heartily of corn. You want to eat heartily, not too heartily.
And everything seemed like a bad dream to old Mr. Crow,
such as he sometimes had after eating too heartily of corn. He felt himself swept up into the sky faster than he had flown for years. He was pitched and tossed about, and in no time at all.
Faster than he had flown for years. He was pitched and tossed about.
And in no time, oh no, I lost my place. Pitched and tossed about,
Faster
there it
than he
is.
had flown for years. He was pitched and tossed about.
And in no time at all he was drenched with water, for the cold rain pelted him as much as it pleased. He could only cling to the handle of his umbrella. And so he sailed away, swaying this way and that as the wind caught him, and always climbing higher and higher into the sky. He passed the top of Blue Mountain almost before he knew it. Looking down, he could see Mrs. Eagle on her nest, and she seemed to be in a flutter of excitement too. She was frightened. And it was no wonder, for she thought the umbrella was a monstrous bird coming to snatch her children away from her. In a few minutes more, oh dear, I moved, my chair squeaked.
The umbrella was a monstrous bird coming to snatch her children away from her.
In a few minutes more, Mr. Crow had crossed another mountain. He was sailing away from home like a kite that has broken its string, and he was rising so high in the air that he was beginning to grow uneasy. He began to wonder what he had better do. Of course, there was one thing he didn't have to worry about, and that was falling. But he did want to go home. You might suppose that he would have done that long ago, long before.
That was falling. But he did want to go home.
You might suppose that he would have done that long before. But the trouble was, he didn't want to lose his umbrella. He thought a great deal of it, and he didn't know where he would get another. You must not forget that it was the only umbrella in Pleasant Valley. Old Mr. Crow had a hard time deciding just what to do. First, he thought he would let go of the umbrella. Then he thought he wouldn't. Next, he thought he would. And after that, he thought he wouldn't again. Perhaps he would still be changing his mind like that if something hadn't happened. Anyhow, all at once, the umbrella turned inside out, and Mr. Crow began to fall. But he didn't fall far. As soon as he realized what was going on, he let go of his umbrella handle, spread his wings, and soared down to the ground. He made no attempt to find his way home until the next day, but spent the night in an evergreen grove. And he didn't feel as badly about losing his umbrella as you would have thought, for he said that ever since he had owned it,
And he didn't feel as badly about losing his umbrella as you would have thought.
For he said that ever since he had owned it, he had caught a wetting when it rained. And since that was the case, he was better off without an umbrella anyhow.
Said that ever since he had owned it, he had caught a wetting when it rained.
And since that was the case, he had
Said that ever since he had owned it, he had caught a wetting when it rained.
And since that was the case, he was better off without an umbrella anyway. Anyhow,
Said that ever since he had owned it, he had caught a wetting when it rained.
I'm going to go back further because wetting sounded like a wedding.
And he didn't feel as badly about losing his umbrella as you would have thought.
For he said that ever since he had owned it, he had caught a wetting when it rained. And since that was the case, he was better off without an umbrella anyhow. All right. End of chapter. We have 10 minutes left. Hey, so, we've been sitting for 50 minutes. So while the swim mix is down, I'm going to get up and move. You should too. You've been sitting here this whole time. You should get up and move. They say 45 minutes. We've pushed that. All right. Just moving. Supposed to do 10 of these. I've lost count. There's 7. Every 45 minutes. Latest study shows it's good for glucose control. Did you catch any of that? All right. clears some cobwebs, gets some blood pumping, oxygenates some stuff. Helps get some glucose into the muscles. I'm trying to set a good example, you guys. And my chapters all look good. Okay. Close it, save it, start a new one. This may be our last chapter, guys, for today. And this is chapter 12. A race with the train. Ooh. This story might go across 2 chapters. So I might go a little longer. With or without you. So far you've been here for the whole book, but probably won't get to be for all of it. "12. That was Froggy. So in addition to possibly getting a cold, my diet over the holiday wasn't the best. And I had a bit of coffee, which gives me reflux at night, which inflames my vocal cords a little bit. So I just have to be conscious of using a little more air and a little more care. "12. A race with the train." Old Mr. Crow was fond of gay clothes. Perhaps it was because he was so black that he always chose bright colors. Anyhow, so long as he could wear a bright red coat and a yellow necktie, or a bright red necktie and a yellow coat, he was generally quite happy. All his neighbors who knew he was, as far as they could see, oh no,
red necktie and a yellow coat. He was generally quite happy.
all his neighbors knew who he was as far as they could see him, no matter if they caught only a
All his neighbors knew who he was as far as they could see him.
No matter if they caught only a flash of yellow or of red, they were pretty safe in saying, "There goes old Mr. Crow." Well, it happened that during the summers that he spent in Pleasant Valley, Mr. Crow sometimes went on excursions. "It's so dull here," he would often say. "I like to see things happen once in a while." And that was the reason why.
I like to see things happen once in a while.
And that was the reason why he was often to be seen flying down to the other end of the valley over the village. There were many interesting sights there. What Mr. Crow liked most of all was to watch the trains puffing along the railroad, which ran close to the river in that part of Pleasant Valley. Sometimes he flew directly over the trains and raced with them. He often claimed that they were always trying to beat him, but they can't do it, he boasted. At last there came a day when something happened that made Mr. Crow feel prouder than ever. He had gone down to the village wearing his bright red coat, and a little way beyond the furthest house he perched on a tree by the side of the railroad and waited for the train to pass. He had heard it snorting at the station, and he knew it was about to start. Pretty soon, the train came thundering up the track, and as soon as it reached him, Mr. Crow started to race with it. He had no trouble beating it, as he always did. And then he did something that he had never... No, there's no that there.
He had no trouble beating it, as he always did.
And then he did something he had never done before. As soon as he had passed the engine, he swooped down and flew right across the track in front of it. All at once, the train set up a terrible noise. It seemed to Mr. Crow that it ground its teeth, and it came to a sudden stop, hissing as if it were very angry. Old Mr. Crow was the least bit startled. He alighted in the top of a tall elm, and while he watched, 2 men jumped down from the engine and walked along the track for a while. Then they crawled back into the engine, and the train went slowly on again. "That's queer," said Mr. Crow to himself. "I never saw that happen before. It looks to me as if the train was pretty angry because I beat it. And if that's the case, I'm coming back here tomorrow at the same hour and race the train again." You can see just from that Mr. Crow was okay, so it's gotten warm enough in here. The things start to expand. My monitor made a little noise there. We're going to go back.
Tomorrow at the same hour and race the train again.
You can see just from that Mr. Crow was something of a tease. All his life he had teased his neighbors, and now he felt more important than ever because he thought he had found a way to tease a railroad.
Of a tease. All his life he had teased his neighbors.
And now he felt more important than ever because he thought
Of a tease. All his life he had teased his neighbors.
And now he felt more important than ever because he thought he had found a way to tease a railroad train. Alrighty. Probably next Tuesday we'll continue on from there. Don't think I will have time to work on it before then. So what I'm doing, I'll tell you as I mix down this today. Next up on my list today is to record an audition for my pseudonym. Then, so excited, I get to start the first book of the Melanie Travis mysteries. I was brought in, another narrator did the first books for another publisher. Books 1 through 16 or 17, I think. And then another audio publisher took over the books, and I was brought in for book 17, maybe. I'll look that up later. And I've read them continuously as the new books come out since then. Now the permissions for that first publisher's books have expired, and the author has asked me to, save it this time. Asked me to continue the series. Well, start the series over and continue it. So I'm going back to book 1. I'm de-aging a lot of characters. It's interesting. When I left off, the son in the story, Davy, he was getting his learner's permit, but now I've gone back to book 1 and he's 4 years old. And all the other characters, of course, are also 14 or so years younger. It'll be fun. Anyway, that's my today and the rest of the week. If you saw my note before, we've had raccoons in the attic. Those get taken care of Thursday morning. Not taken care of. They're sealing everything off so no more raccoons can find their way in. And hopefully trap and release elsewhere the guys who have been hanging out there. Yeah. So Melanie Travis Mystery, back here next Tuesday at 10. Bye. Oh, I'll get there. They make you click twice. Okay.